After a few experiences in web development, he started the successful cybersecurity company, Iconic Systems. But a few years into this venture, Dmitry had a vision.
I remember it clearly. I was on my honeymoon on the big island of Hawaii on November 18th of 2004. And my wife and I had gone to a Costco down there to buy some new memory sticks for our camera, because you take a lot of pictures on your honeymoon. And on the way back to our hotel, about halfway in, as I was driving, I just had this idea, and it was crystal clear. And the idea was that I could make it possible for anyone to broadcast video on the internet. Now, this is months before YouTube launched. YouTube launched in April of 2005. This was in November 18th of 2004.
To bring his vision to life, Dmitry needed money. He raised $34 million to start his first company, Iconics. So he was able to pitch to some of the biggest venture capitalists on Sand Hill Road in the Silicon Valley. But it was 2005. Because video hadn't really taken off on the internet, the investors he spoke with just didn't understand.
They looked at me sort of dumbfounded, all of them basically, and said, I don't get it. Who wants to broadcast video? Do you know anybody who wants to broadcast video? And I'm like, I know a few people that are video bloggers and they do it. They're like, yeah, but that's not a business. It takes a lot of resources to create interesting content, right? There's a reason motion pictures and television shows, right, cost tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to produce and take years. You can't just point the camera at something and make it interesting. And even if you could somehow get sort of regular people to watch these amateur broadcasts, you can't make any money out of it, because big brands will never advertise on user-generated content.
But in July of 2005, investor Art Bilger of Shelter Capital gave Dmitry an initial investment of $2.5 million to start his next venture, Veoh. Veoh was a site similar to YouTube that allowed users to upload and share their content. But it would also aggregate links to streaming videos on the internet, providing a user with a wider range of programming. So not only could you find user-generated videos on Veoh, but you could also find programming from independent and major networks like ABC, CBS, and Warner Brothers. Now, YouTube had already been launched 3 months earlier and was already a huge success. But the popularity of internet video as a whole led to the rise of several streaming websites. And in this clip from 2007, Dmitry talks about a few of them.
Two emerging mediums that we're seeing right now. One medium I call the WWVW, the World Wide Video Web. And there are companies like YouTube and Rever and Brightcove and all of these hundreds of YouTube clones that are out there that are taking the web as it used to be and just kind of taking video and embedding video in the web.
And out of all of the different websites that Dmitry categorized as WWVW, Veoh was one of the most popular. For its time, Veoh was one of the largest video sharing sites, attracting over 30 million users per month at its peak. It also had a successful advertising company, bringing in millions of dollars each month. Veoh was a pioneer of internet television, with plans to launch a new streaming service called Veoh TV. In this interview from 2007 with Beat TV, Dmitry talks a little bit about their plans.
There's a second medium that may be even more exciting than the World Wide Video Web, and that medium we call internet television. So you need an application to be able to deliver that programming to. In this case, the application is Veoh, which is a virtual digital video recorder for internet television.
Based on the early success of Veoh, huge investors like Goldman Sachs, Intel, Time Warner, and even former Disney CEO Michael Eisner invested millions of dollars in this company. It was 2007. Veoh was off to a promising start. And then, the recording industry came calling. In September of 2007, Universal Music Group, one of the 3 biggest record labels in the world, sued Veoh for hosting videos that contained music that the company had owned. But suing Veoh wasn't enough. UMG also filed lawsuits against Veoh shareholders. It was a long courtroom battle. In the end, Veoh was cleared of any wrongdoing, but the experience took a major toll on the company. The financial and mental exhaustion of this lawsuit essentially bankrupted Veoh, And on April 7, 2009, the company was sold. While researching this episode, I came across a lot of information on Veoh, and to me, it did appear that Dmitry was on the forefront of internet video, on the forefront of something which proved to be huge. But because of this copyright lawsuit, which he ultimately was cleared of, this great idea that he worked so hard to bring to life just died. This couldn't have been easy. I wanted to know a little bit more about this, so I asked him about his mindset during this period of his life.
I guess it's the hardest thing that I've gone through in my life, other than like immigration and growing up and all of that. Of course, there are challenges. But I had to fire over 120 people who had worked for years tirelessly. We were family. And so this breaking up of a family is because of, for no reason at all, was extremely painful. And in fact, at the same time that was happening, I had invested basically all of my effort into the startup. And so this, my wife that I had married when I had this idea on our honeymoon, she and I were getting divorced. This is all July of 2009. And then on July 13th of 2009, my father died. And so like this perfect storm in July of 2009 hit me. It was certainly the darkest time.
As you can imagine, this period was devastating for Dmitry, both on a personal and professional level. However, it wasn't long before he worked again. MySpace Music recruited him to be the chief technology officer. And that's where a little bit of irony comes into play.
Ended up being recruited to be the chief technology officer of MySpace Music, which ironically was a joint venture between MySpace and the big record labels. The biggest one being Universal Music, that had just sued Veoh out of existence. So they sued Veoh out of existence and hired me to be chief technology officer of this company.